Every single time you pull up to a gas pump, you're gambling. Not with money. Well, actually yes, with money. But more importantly, with the engine sitting under your hood. Studies show that roughly 1 in 3 fuel stations has failed a quality inspection at some point. We're talking water contamination in underground storage tanks, sediment floating through fuel lines, and in documented cases, drivers paying for 93 octane and receiving something closer to 87. The oil companies know this. They've known it for years, and most of them have done absolutely nothing about it. But here's what the industry doesn't want you walking around knowing. There are exactly 12 brands that have actually spent the money, done the lab work, and submitted to independent verification to prove their fuel chemistry does what they say it does. These brands are endorsed by name in owner's manuals from BMW, Toyota, General Motors, and Honda. Today, I'm going to rank every single one of them, from the one you should use as a last resort all the way up to the brand that is, by every objective chemical and financial metric, the smartest fill-up in America. And I promise you, the brand sitting at number 1 is not the one you're expecting. If this kind of content saves you money and protects your engine, hit subscribe right now. Because we break down exactly this kind of information that the automotive industry quietly buries. Let's start at the bottom. Number 12, BP. BP is the most important brand to begin with, precisely because they are the most sophisticated example of consumer deception, currently operating at scale in the American fuel market. That's a strong claim. Here's the evidence behind it. BP was a fully certified member of the top-tier detergent gasoline program from 2013 through approximately 2016. Top-tier certification isn't self-reported. It requires a brand to submit their fuel formulations to independent third-party laboratories for chemical verification. You can't simply declare yourself top-tier. You have to prove it to people who have no financial stake in your success. BP earned that certification. They built considerable consumer trust around it. And then, deliberately and quietly, they walked away from the program. Every other brand on this list either maintained their certification continuously or never joined in the first place. BP did something different. They joined, leveraged the credibility, and then exited the independent verification process entirely. What did they replace it with? A proprietary marketing system they call the Invigorate Additive System, which BP's own promotional materials claim exceeds top-tier standards. Read that sentence again carefully. They are claiming to exceed a standard they refuse to be tested against. Top-tier certification exists specifically because self-reported fuel quality claims are meaningless without third-party laboratory confirmation. BP is doing exactly what Top Tier was created to prevent, asking consumers to trust a marketing claim without the independent data to substantiate it. There is a second layer to this problem that is arguably worse. Even if you accept BP's internal claims at face value and give them every benefit of the doubt, only their premium grade fuel is claimed to reach or exceed top-tier treatment rates. Their 87 octane regular grade and their mid-grade fuel are formulated to meet only the EPA minimum standard. The EPA minimum is the legal floor. It is the absolute least a fuel brand is required to do by law. The majority of fuel that BP pumps into the majority of vehicles driven by the majority of their customers meets only that floor, while the branding, the station design, and the marketing all imply something significantly above it. BP operates more than 7,000 stations across the United States. That is an enormous footprint sustained by an enormous reservoir of brand recognition built over decades. Drivers trust the BP name. That trust is being monetized. You are paying branded station prices for what is, in most grades, a commodity-level product. BP ranks last not because their fuel is the worst fuel that exists in America, but because the gap between what they imply and what they deliver is wider than any other brand on this list. Number 11, Arco. Arco is owned by Marathon Petroleum, the same parent company behind the Marathon-branded stations you'll see ranked considerably higher on this list. That connection is operationally meaningful, not just a corporate footnote. Arco draws from Marathon's refining infrastructure and benefits from Marathon's additive development capability. The supply chain relationship is direct. Arco is top-tier certified. That's not a claim, it's a verified status. The detergent package meets the concentration requirements across all octane grades, which is exactly what the standard demands. Along much of the West Coast, particularly throughout California, Arco stations are subject to the California Air Resources Board fuel standards, which exceed the federal EPA requirements in several meaningful areas. Any fuel formulation that satisfies California's regulatory environment is by definition performing above the national baseline. That is a structural quality floor that Arco stations in that region cannot fall below regardless of corporate pricing decisions. What keeps Arco at number 11 rather than higher is the philosophy behind their market position. Arco has built its brand identity around competitive, accessible pricing, often the lowest price per gallon in any given market. That pricing strategy has a downstream consequence for fuel chemistry. The additive package tends to be calibrated near the lower boundary of the top-tier concentration requirement, rather than significantly above it. The certification is genuine. The engine protection is real and documentable, but the headroom above the minimum, the margin of detergent concentration above what's required, is narrower than what you'll find at the brands ranked above. For a driver who wants legitimate top-tier certification and is working within a tighter budget, ARCO is a defensible choice. The important thing to understand clearly is that you're getting entry-level top-tier quality, not the upper end of what top-tier chemistry is capable of delivering. Number 10, Mobil. Mobil and Exxon merged in 1999 to form ExxonMobil Corporation, but standalone Mobil branded stations continue to operate across multiple markets. Here is what matters practically. The fuel chemistry is identical. Mobil stations use the same ExxonMobil Synergy fuel system that Exxon branded locations run. 9 distinct additives in a single formulation, 3 separate detergent compounds, a friction modifier, a corrosion inhibitor, and 4 additional proprietary components. This is the same system we'll discuss in more technical depth when we reach Exxon later on the list. Independent testing conducted by the Oil and Air Organization measured Exxon's regular grade fuel at 20.0 milligrams of detergent per 100 milliliters of fuel. That was the highest concentration recorded among all regular grade fuels evaluated in the study. Mobil stations draw from the same supply and inject the same additive system, which means the chemistry at a standalone Mobil pump is chemically indistinguishable from an Exxon location. So why is Mobil at 10 while Exxon sits at 4? Execution consistency. Standalone Mobil branded stations are significantly less common now than they were before the merger, and in certain regional markets, the blending logistics and delivery standardization are less uniform than at dedicated Exxon locations. The chemistry is equivalent. The implementation fidelity varies more across the Mobil network than across the Exxon network. If you have a Mobil station available and no Exxon within reasonable distance, you are not making a compromise. You are getting the Synergy system. This is not a lesser product. It is the same product under different signage. The ranking difference is about consistency of delivery infrastructure, not about what's actually in the fuel when everything goes right. Number 9, Sunoco. Sunoco built its technical reputation in motorsports, and that is not a marketing department invention. It is a documented operational history that spans decades. Sunoco has supplied race fuel for the Indianapolis 500 for an extended period of time, engineering a fuel formulation that performs reliably under the kind of sustained, extreme thermal and mechanical stress that a racing engine endures at 230 miles per hour is a genuinely demanding technical challenge. The capability required to meet that challenge does not disappear when the same engineers turn their attention to consumer-grade formulations. Sunoco is top-tier certified across their network. In many markets throughout the Northeast, where their station density is highest, Sunoco offers a premium fuel grade ranging from 93 to 94 octane. Most competitors cap their premium offering at 91 octane. For turbocharged engines and high-compression engine configurations, that additional octane headroom is not a trivial distinction. Higher octane allows the engine's management computer to advance ignition timing more aggressively before the risk of detonation becomes a concern. More aggressive timing translates to measurably greater power output and improved thermal efficiency. If your vehicle is one that benefits from premium fuel, the ceiling Sunoco can reach is higher than what most alternatives offer. Sunoco also offers ethanol-free premium fuel at selected locations within their network. This deserves more attention than it typically receives. Ethanol-blended gasoline absorbs atmospheric moisture over time, degrades more rapidly than pure gasoline, and can damage rubber fuel system components in vehicles not specifically designed around ethanol compatibility. For owners of classic and collector vehicles, motorcycle riders, and anyone operating marine engines, locating a reliable, consistent source of ethanol-free premium gasoline is genuinely difficult. Where Sunoco provides it, that represents a practical advantage over every other brand on this list. The single limiting factor is geographic concentration. Sunoco's station network is densest in the mid-Atlantic and Northeast United States. Outside that footprint, this recommendation has limited practical application. But within their operating territory, Sunoco offers a combination of documented racing-derived chemistry and fuel-grade options that no other brand on this list can fully replicate. Number 8, 76. 76 is a Phillips 66 subsidiary, and the connection between the two brands is direct and total. Same refining infrastructure, same additive technology platform, same top-tier certification that Phillips 66 has maintained continuously since the program was established in 2004. The 76 brand is essentially West Coast market access to nearly a century of Phillips 66 fuel engineering operating under a regionally familiar name. California's fuel regulations, administered by the California Air Resources Board, are the strictest fuel standards applied anywhere in the United States, They exceed federal EPA requirements by a meaningful margin across multiple performance parameters. A fuel formulation that satisfies California's regulatory environment is not merely meeting a bar, it is clearing a bar that most fuel sold elsewhere in the country is not required to clear. That is a regulatory fact, not a marketing position. 76 meets all California ARB requirements. The practical advantage of the 76 network along the West Coast extends beyond chemistry into logistics. High traffic station locations generate high fuel turnover. Fuel is arriving and departing continuously rather than sitting in underground storage waiting to be dispensed. Detergent additives in gasoline are chemically stable, but not infinitely so. Fresh fuel with an active, fully potent additive package performs better than fuel that has been sitting in a tank for weeks, regardless of the initial concentration at the time of delivery. High turnover stations remove that variable from the equation entirely. You are getting fresh chemistry because the volume guarantees it. Within California and the surrounding West Coast states, 76 delivers Phillips 66 chemistry through a network that's both accessible and high volume. If you're outside that geographic footprint, look specifically for a Phillips 66 branded station rather than a 76, since the underlying product is identical and Phillips 66 has broader national distribution. Number 7, Sinclair. Sinclair is almost certainly the most underestimated brand on this list, and the reason for that underestimation is almost entirely geographic. Sinclair's stations are concentrated in the Rocky Mountain and central United States, Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, and the surrounding region. That footprint puts them outside the daily awareness of drivers on both coasts and outside most national automotive media coverage, which tends to originate in markets where Sinclair doesn't operate. The dinosaur logo is one of the oldest continuous brand identities in American fuel retail. That is trivia. What matters is the infrastructure behind the logo. Sinclair operates with significant regional refining capacity. Like Marathon, Sinclair controls meaningful portions of their own supply chain. Their Rocky Mountain refineries serve their station network directly across large portions of their territory. Integrated supply chains produce a specific quality control advantage that matters in the fuel business. Fewer handoff points between refinery and pump means fewer opportunities for consistency to degrade. Each time fuel changes hands between entities with different processes and different standards, the potential for variation increases. Sinclair's direct supply relationship compresses that process. Sinclair's Dynacare detergent package is top-tier certified and applied consistently across all octane grades. The engineering is legitimate, and the pricing reflects a company that is not running national television advertising campaigns. You are not subsidizing celebrity endorsements or Super Bowl commercials in the cost of a Sinclair gallon. You are paying for the chemistry. If you are within Sinclair's operating territory, this brand consistently outperforms its national brand recognition. It is a top-tier product with a regional identity that most American drivers have never seriously considered. Within their footprint, they are one of the most rational fuel choices available. Number 6, Phillips 66. Phillips 66 was incorporated in 1927. They were among the founding members of the top-tier detergent gasoline program in 2004, part of the original coalition alongside Chevron and Shell that helped establish what premium fuel certification would actually require and what independent verification of those requirements would look like. Nearly a century of continuous fuel chemistry development is not a marketing statement. It is a historical record that represents accumulated engineering knowledge embedded in current formulations, knowledge built over decades when the performance standards came from what engines actually needed rather than from regulatory minimums. The specific characteristic of Phillips 66's approach that deserves direct attention is their additive deployment policy. Phillips 66 applies the same detergent package across every octane grade they sell. Their 87 octane regular grade receives chemically identical additive treatment to their 91 octane premium. That is a deliberate engineering and business decision, and it matters enormously for the majority of drivers. Many fuel brands on this list, and most fuel brands not on this list, reserve their most robust additive chemistry for premium grade fuel while providing regular grade only what's required. The result is that drivers who purchase regular, which is most drivers most of the time, receive meaningfully less protection than the same brand's premium customers. Phillips 66 does not operate that way. Whatever grade you pump, you're receiving the full additive commitment. There is no tiered protection model. Phillips 66's strongest geographic presence is in the central and western United States. Within that territory, they are among the most consistently reliable top-tier options available, carrying nearly a century of engineering behind every gallon and applying that engineering equally to every driver, regardless of which grade they select. Number 5, Marathon. Marathon has never run a Super Bowl commercial. There are no celebrity partnerships, no viral marketing campaigns, no memorable slogans that most Americans can recite. Marathon's competitive advantage is invisible to most consumers because it exists in the structure of their supply chain rather than in their advertising budget. And that's precisely what makes it so valuable. Marathon refines crude oil, develops and blends their own additive packages internally, and distributes the finished product to more than 5,000 branded stations under their direct control. Every stage of that process is managed inside the company. Compare that operational model to a branded fuel station that purchases commodity gasoline from a third-party refinery and adds proprietary additives at a distribution terminal somewhere in the middle of the supply chain. The multi-party model creates multiple transition points where standards, concentrations, and processes may vary between entities. Marathon eliminates those transition points structurally. Marathon is top-tier, certified with consistent detergent application across all octane grades. The direct control over base fuel quality, before the additive package is even introduced, means the foundation the additives are built on is uniform in a way that externally sourced base fuel cannot guarantee. Marathon is also, in many markets, priced competitively with generic, unbranded stations despite delivering certified top-tier chemistry. The integrated supply chain removes intermediary costs, and some portion of those savings is reflected at the pump. The fuel industry equivalent of buying factory direct, equivalent or superior quality at a lower cost because the supply chain is shorter and owned by one entity from start to finish. Number 4, Exxon. ExxonMobil's Synergy fuel system is the most technically documented consumer fuel product on this entire list. 9 total additives. 3 distinct detergent formulations, each engineered for a specific deposit type. 1 targeted at intake valve carbon buildup, 1 formulated specifically for fuel injector deposits, and 1 focused on combustion chamber carbon accumulation. Additionally, a friction modifier, a corrosion inhibitor, and 4 proprietary components whose exact formulations are internal to ExxonMobil's research division. These are not marketing categories invented by a branding team. They are chemically distinct formulations with different molecular structures targeting different surfaces within your engine's fuel delivery and combustion system. The independent testing number that matters most here. Exxon's regular grade 87 octane fuel measured at 20.0 milligrams of detergent per 100 milliliters in independent testing, the highest concentration recorded among all regular grade fuels evaluated in that study. For drivers who purchase 87 octane, which is the majority of drivers the majority of the time, Exxon delivers the highest independently verified detergent concentration available in that grade category. The 3 detergent architecture is worth understanding as an engineering decision, not just a specification. A single detergent compound designed to address multiple deposit types necessarily represents a compromise. It can't be optimally targeted at intake valve chemistry and injection tip chemistry and combustion chamber chemistry simultaneously because those are different surface environments with different temperature profiles and different chemical compositions. 3 separate detergents, each optimized for its specific target environment, is a more precise approach. Exxon's own internal testing data supports this, as does the independent measurement of their deposit reduction and removal performance. Continuous use of Synergy fuel removes existing deposits, while the multi-component additive system works to prevent new formation simultaneously. That dual action characteristic, cleaning what's already there while guarding against what would otherwise accumulate, is more sophisticated than most fuel additives deliver. Exxon ranks at 4 rather than higher for one primary reason: pricing. In many markets, Exxon stations carry a consistent price premium above comparable top-tier competitors. The chemistry unambiguously justifies a premium over EPA minimum fuel. Whether it justifies a premium over equivalently certified competitors is the question the brands ranked above it answer differently. Number 3, Shell V-Power Nitro. Shell looked at the top-tier standard, a standard that already requires detergent concentrations significantly above the EPA minimum, and concluded that meeting that standard was not sufficient. Shell V-Power Nitro Plus. Premium delivers 7 times the EPA minimum detergent level, not 7 times the top tier minimum, 7 times the EPA floor. AOA independent testing measured Shell premium grade at 31.0 milligrams of detergent per 100 milliliters. That was the highest concentration recorded among all premium grade fuels evaluated in the study. Higher than Chevron's premium, higher than Exxon's premium, higher than every other premium fuel tested. Shell's distinguishing technology is the nitrogen-enriched cleaning system, and it's worth understanding what nitrogen actually does in this context beyond what the marketing language conveys. The nitrogen molecules integrated into Shell's detergent package perform 2 functions sequentially. The detergent component addresses existing deposits on metal surfaces inside the engine. The nitrogen chemistry then forms a protective molecular barrier on those same cleaned surfaces. The surfaces don't simply get cleaned and left exposed, they receive a thin molecular layer that physically slows the rate at which new deposits can form. Shell's fuel doesn't just react to accumulated carbon, it creates conditions that make future accumulation more difficult. Shell also includes friction modifiers, specifically engineered for direct injection fuel injector tips, where combustion temperatures exceed 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. This matters because of how GDI engines are architecturally different from port injection engines. In a port injection system, fuel is sprayed into the intake manifold before the intake valve, which means the injector tip is never directly exposed to combustion heat. In a gasoline direct injection engine, the injector tip extends into the combustion chamber itself. Every combustion event happens essentially around the injector tip. The thermal stress is extraordinary, and deposit buildup in that location is one of the most common and most expensive maintenance issues affecting modern GDI engines. Shell's formulation addresses this specifically and deliberately. Shell's regular 87 octane contains the full nitrogen-enriched additive chemistry. The premium grade delivers higher concentration, but the underlying system is present at every grade level. 7 times the EPA minimum is an independently measured number, not an approximation from a marketing presentation. Shell ranks at number 3 rather than number 1 for the same reason Exxon doesn't top the list: pricing. V-Power Nitro Plus carries a consistent price premium above most top-tier competitors. The chemistry is the highest documented on this list. The per-gallon cost is also the highest on this list. For drivers with specific high-performance engine requirements, particularly turbocharged or GDI engines where the nitrogen-enriched protection provides its most meaningful advantages, the premium may be entirely rational. For the average driver with a standard naturally aspirated engine, the next 2 brands deliver equally certified protection with a significantly lower financial commitment. Number 2, Chevron with Techron. Chevron did not join the top-tier movement. Chevron created the additive chemistry that made the top-tier movement possible in the first place. Techron entered the commercial market in 1981. The top-tier program was not established until 2004, 23 years later. The specific chemical compound at the center of Techron is PEA, polyethyramine. Chevron's research and development team developed PEA as a fuel detergent additive, and its performance characteristics became so well documented over the following 2 decades that when BMW, General Motors, Honda, and Toyota sat down in 2004 to establish what effective fuel chemistry would require in order to receive top-tier certification, PEA-based formulations were the benchmark they built the standard around. Chevron's invention became the industry's definition of quality. Every brand on this list that is top-tier certified is using chemistry that is measured against a standard Chevron's engineers created. The distinction between PEA and the cheaper alternative, PIBA, polyisobutylene amine, is measurable and meaningful, particularly in the GDI engines that increasingly dominate the new vehicle market. PIBA delivers genuine cleaning action and is an effective deposit reducer in port injection engine configurations. However, in gasoline direct injection engines, PIBA use has been associated with contributing to combustion chamber deposit formation, while simultaneously addressing other deposit types. It solves one problem while creating a different one. PEA cleans intake valves, fuel injectors, and combustion chamber surfaces simultaneously without generating secondary deposit accumulation. It is a complete solution rather than a targeted fix with a side effect. That distinction is why major automakers specifically call out PEA chemistry in their fuel recommendations. AAA testing found that top-tier fuels, including Chevron, produce 19 times fewer intake valve deposits than non-top-tier fuel after 4,000 miles of driving. Not 19% fewer, 19 times fewer. 19. And in engines that had accumulated significant carbon deposits from extended use of lower quality fuel, Techron's cleaning performance reached measurable deposit removal of up to 50% within 4,500 miles. Chevron is recommended by name in owner's manuals from multiple major automakers. That is a manufacturer-level endorsement reflecting 40-plus years of documented real-world performance, not a brand partnership or a co-marketing arrangement. Chevron sits at number 2 for one reason, and it is purely geographic. Their station network is concentrated in the western United States. In large portions of the country, Chevron is simply not available as a regular fill-up option. The chemistry is the standard, the distribution is the limitation, which brings us to number 1. Number 1, Costco Kirkland, signature gasoline. Shell V-Power Nitro Plus delivers the highest independently documented detergent concentration of any premium fuel tested. Chevron with Techron invented the PEA chemistry that the entire top-tier certification program was built upon. Both are objectively exceptional products by every available chemical measurement. They are not number 1. Here is why. A fuel recommendation that the majority of American drivers cannot conveniently access does not serve the majority of American drivers. And a fuel that delivers a marginally higher chemical specification at 25 to 35 cents per gallon more does not serve drivers who can receive equivalent certified protection for significantly less money every single time they fill up. The best fuel recommendation is the one that delivers independently certified top-tier chemistry at the price that makes it the rational financial choice for any driver who can reach it. Costco Kirkland. Signature gasoline is top-tier certified. It delivers 5 times the EPA required detergent minimum. In regular grade and premium grade, not just premium, both grades, the Lubrizol additive package, Lubrizol being one of the most established additive chemistry companies in the world, is injected on site at each Costco fuel station during the fuel delivery process. That means the additive concentration is controlled and verified at the point of dispensing, not introduced at a refinery hundreds of miles away in a process Costco cannot directly oversee. Costco sold approximately $30 billion in gasoline in fiscal year 2024. That volume creates something no other retailer or branded fuel network can claim: the highest fuel turnover rate of any single fuel retailer in the entire United States market. Costco's fuel moves constantly. The structural implication is that the gasoline reaching your tank is fresh, with a fully active, chemically potent additive package. Fuel that sits in underground storage tanks for weeks, even certified top-tier fuel, is simply not performing at the same level as fuel that arrived this week. The price differential is 21 to 35 cents per gallon below comparable top-tier competitors at standard branded stations. Run the math on a realistic driving scenario. A driver purchasing 600 gallons per year saves between $126 and $210 annually compared to Shell or Chevron pricing. Over 5 years, that is $630 to $1,050 in cumulative savings, while receiving top-tier certified detergent protection at 5 times the EPA minimum. You are not accepting a chemistry compromise to access the lower price. The chemistry is independently certified. The price advantage is structural and consistent. RDIA specifically identified Costco as delivering top-tier chemistry at the lowest prices of any certified brand included in their evaluation. That combination, verified chemistry, documented price advantage, and a structural freshness advantage driven by volume, is not replicated by any other brand on this list. The one genuine caveat is access. If there is no Costco fuel station within practical distance of your regular routes, Chevron with Techron is the strongest alternative for drivers in the western United States, and Shell V-Power Nitro Plus is the strongest nationally distributed option. But for any driver who has a Costco station accessible, filling your tank anywhere else on a routine basis means paying more money for equivalent or lesser certified protection. That is, by the literal definition of the term, a bad deal, and it's one that's entirely unnecessary. Now, here is the technical foundation that makes all of this more than a ranking exercise. Every gallon of gasoline sold in the United States must meet EPA minimum detergent additive standards. The minimum standard exists to prevent basic engine fouling at the most fundamental level. The problem is embedded in the word minimum. It is the floor, the lowest legally permissible performance level, nothing more. A station selling fuel at the EPA minimum is doing the absolute least the law allows. There's nothing wrong with it legally, and nothing impressive about it mechanically. In 2004, BMW, General Motors, Honda, and Toyota formed a coalition to establish the top-tier detergent gasoline standard specifically because the EPA minimum had become inadequate for the performance demands of modern engines. Top tier requires detergent concentrations substantially above the EPA floor across every octane grade sold, mandates that additive formulations include effective PEA-based chemistry rather than cheaper alternatives, and requires that every brand certification be maintained through continuous independent laboratory verification. You cannot self-certify as top tier. You submit to outside testing or you don't carry the designation. The performance difference between top-tier and non-top-tier fuel in controlled testing is not subtle. Top-tier fuel produced 19 times fewer carbon deposits on intake valves after 4,000 miles. The average driver using consistently low-quality fuel loses an estimated $1,000 per year in accumulated costs. Reduced fuel economy as deposits disrupt air-fuel mixture optimization, increased carbon cleaning service intervals, and eventual injector or valve repair costs that arrive years before they should in a properly maintained vehicle. The price differential between a top-tier station and a commodity station is typically 2 to 5 cents per gallon. On 600 gallons per year, that is $12 to $30 in additional annual cost, against a potential $1,000 in annual losses. The arithmetic goes one direction and one direction only. The key additive, PEA, polyethyramine, cleans intake valves, fuel injectors, and combustion chamber surfaces simultaneously without leaving its own residue behind. The cheaper alternative, PEBA, provides real cleaning action but has been documented to contribute to combustion chamber deposit accumulation in GDI engine configurations, cleaning one area while degrading another, with gasoline direct injection now standard or near standard across the new vehicle market. The difference between PEA and PEBA chemistry is not a marginal technical footnote. It is a meaningful operational distinction that plays out inside your engine every time you drive. Before you establish any station as your regular fill-up location, spend 30 seconds at toptiergas.com. The database is current, searchable, and will tell you immediately whether the brand you've been trusting is independently certified. If it isn't on the list, you now understand precisely what that means for the long-term health of your engine. You now have the complete picture. All 12 brands, the chemistry that separates them, and the one brand that delivers certified protection at a price that makes every alternative look overpriced by comparison. Before you go, if this breakdown gave you information you've never seen laid out this clearly before, subscribe right now. This is exactly the kind of content we produce, the details that automotive industry marketing actively works to keep complicated and confusing made as clear and actionable as possible. We'll see you in the next one.